Well, welcome. Tonight, we're going to go through one of the shows that I enjoy the most. It's learning about the achievements of Milford kids, both the men and the women that make up Milford sports, with an athletic director that has always impressed us from the first time he came on the show and talked about his kids as student athletes and how he knew he had to balance the fact that less than 0.1% of the kids will make it in professional sports. So they all have to make sure that they're taught well enough and carry enough skills to go to college and then from college on. So, Pete, why don't we start with an introduction?
Absolutely. Thank you, Al. Great to be here. Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Pete Boucher. I am a very, very proud athletic director here in Milford. This is my 7th year working with the high school and the middle school athletics. And we spend a little time in our elementary schools, too, whenever we can, working on, discipline, working on behavior situations where we're trying to be positive. But, yeah, it's kind of a K-12 athletic director situation right now. So thanks for having me.
Now, I got to start out because when I was a kid and we wanted to play soccer, if you weren't born playing soccer, the Portuguese kids, you couldn't make the only team in Milford, which was the Portuguese club.
Right.
My cousin made it, but I think he was born with a soccer ball. But for me, he felt bad and took me to Franklin because the Franklin Lions was the closest team. So Milford never really had soccer. Now I understand we got a little bit of an honor coming our way.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning. We are very excited. We added middle school soccer 7 years ago, right when I came on board. We've got freshman boys and girls soccer. We field a freshman team every year we can, and that's most of the years. JV boys soccer, JV girls, of course, our varsity soccer programs. Our boys team has won the league 3 years in a row, 2 years at the Davenport level, which is the small division. We moved up to the large school division this year because of our enrollment. I think a lot of people thought that would be difficult for us. We went undefeated. We won the league championship at the Kelly Rex level, which is the highest enrollment for the schools. We also went into the Hakamak Cup Playoffs because we're not having playoffs outside of the league due to the current COVID situations. We went undefeated in that. We ran the table. We played Oliver Ames, who was either ranked 1 or 2 in the state all year long. And Milford was the other team. So depending on what rankings you looked at, it was either Milford or OA. So really what was a state championship level game, we played them at OA. And probably the most exhausting and exciting game I've ever seen. We ended up winning 2-1. Ended up with 3 league all-stars, 2 state all-stars, 1 all-New England in Leo Coelho. And it wasn't super surprising to us. And I say this, with all due respect, because he's so darn good. He's so much fun to watch. The kid can do anything with both feet. I've never seen anything like it. And I played soccer when I was younger. He was just unbelievable to watch. So we were so happy to get the phone call that he was named All-American in the United States. So he was voted as one of the best boys high school soccer players in the entire country. I checked in with Nick Kelly. I said, "Hey, Nick, have we ever had this?" And he was, he knew right away. Nick's, I call him Nick the Living.
We never had an All-American here, did we?
Not to my knowledge and not to Nick's knowledge. So, I tried to do my homework and, we're just excited. We're excited for this young man. He's getting phone calls from pick any university and college you want, and they've contacted us. The minute you have that status, people want you. They want videotape, and the ones that hadn't seen him are like, has he committed yet? He's got an open door. We'll get what do you guys want? I'm like, it's all about Leo. You talk to Leo. It's not about what we want. It's about what does he want to do, But yeah, we're really excited for him and the success that team has had. And it's fun. It's just fun. It's been great to be.
Now, is he a senior?
He is a senior. Yes. Yep.
So we'll know pretty soon where he's going.
Yeah. Yep. I think he's going to wait till the end of probably third quarter. Kind of check in, where his grades are at and, how that matches up with the schools that he wants to go to. and the schools that want him. I'll give a little tip. I don't think he wants to go too far from Milford, as a lot of our kids. I was that same way. I didn't really want to leave New England. If you're a New England kid, you're a New England. You like the Four Seasons and whatnot. So we may find that he's going to stay close to home, or at least in the New England area. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, for anybody with children who have gone to college, the best advice I got was don't push.
Yes,
it was obvious. I know a little purple school in Worcester that I wanted my daughters to go to, but my oldest started looking at University of Pluto, College of Mars.
Yeah, right.
How far away from Milford could you possibly get?
Yep.
And then as I just sat back and watched, the concentric circles got smaller and smaller, and we would tickle pink, even though she didn't choose Holy Cross. She went to school in Worcester. So we got to go see everything. And
yeah, isn't that fun? It's just a fun ride, right?
Half an hour. I mean, Emily, my youngest, was a cheerleader. So all of a sudden I signed up for season tickets for everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
We would see her twice a week. We always told her, we're not coming to see you. We're coming to see a basketball game or a hockey game but it was wonderful. Well, congratulations. That is great.
Yeah, thank you. We're super excited, and very similar to your situation. Like, my kids aren't old enough to be, in college yet, but I got a freshman and a seventh grader, and it will be fun to be able to, I hope, to be able to go see him play at the college level. We've got a ton of kids, and we get out on weekends anytime we can if they're local in New England to be able to go catch some of these kids, playing football or running track. You name the sport, swimming. We've got kids playing all over New England, and it's just, there's kind of a pride thing when you walk in the door and you got your Milford jacket on, and who you come, and you immediately, hey, I'm coming to see so and so at this school, or I'm going to watch Ryan Nestor run track, or and they know that you had just a smidgen of something. Maybe a tiny bit of helping them or pushing them or encouraging them. And it just feels good to go watch them compete at the next level. It's awesome.
Well, it's always good to see Milford kids, excelling.
100%. If they get the grades to where they want to go. And then the way we look at it is the athletic doors just open a little bit wider when you have the grades that you need to get into the school that you want to go to. So that's kind of what we say to everybody.
So now the soccer team sounds fantastic for this year. You always wonder, when you graduate somebody this good, what happens next year?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because last year we made it to the state finals. It was an absolutely, I would use the word scintillating, back and forth, 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 4-4. It was like, and we end up going into overtime, and unfortunately we didn't get that game. But I think a lot of people thought, they've got, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 seniors. They won't be back. And we quietly had the feeling like, we think we could be better. Like, we've got kids coming up to fill these shoes. And we feel like, hey, we might get back here. We expect to get back here, but COVID, took care of the playoffs. But thankfully, Oliver Ames is in our league, and we really feel like we had a state championship level game. And but yeah, I think what you're alluding to is next year we had 9 to 10 seniors, so we're graduating a heavy artillery of really strong soccer players. But I can say this, we had freshmen on our varsity team, we had sophomores, we got guys coming up. Our JV team is loaded, our freshman team is loaded. So our truthfully, our expectations for that program will be to win the division again next year. We always talk about goals. We have 4 goals. 1 would be to make the tournament, just get in. 2 would be to win the Hakamak. 3 is win the division. 4 is win the state. And right now, I would quietly, to the folks out there listening, we're going to try and win the league again. That's our goal for this program. And then, should the playoffs come back around, well, I always say to my teams and the teams that are at Milford, I say, once you get in, everybody's 0-0. So we're going to go as far as your feet and brains and heart will take us. So, we'll see where we'll see where it goes, but we're cautiously optimistic.
How many kids do you think will get scholarships out of the program this year?
Ooh, good
Be
question.
1, 2?
Boys soccer. Lucas Da Silva was highly touted too, along with Chris Tacci. They were all, the three of those boys were all league. Two of those boys were all Eastern Mass, all Massachusetts. I think Lucas is going to play at the next level. I think if Chris wants to play at the next level, he will. And we'll know more in April when we do our NCAA celebration day. I got to be honest, it's challenging right now because the colleges they don't have the footage that they typically would have. They're searching a little bit further, searching a little bit deeper. We have video for them, but they didn't get to see the kids in person, which the Midwest and Western Coast, they don't do that. But the New England teams like to come and see you play. So it's taken a little bit longer, but I think we have 3 or 4. I mean, we have a goalie who I think could play at the next level. And our backup goalie who actually had to come in for the championship. Leo got hurt, our goalie, and he came in and really just locked it down. I mean, we're just deep. Like, our kids get it. It's next guy up. And when you get in, it's your time to shine, and you're playing, you're fighting for playing time, where on other teams, you would easily be a starter. You could be the star, where you might be our 5th, 6th, or 7th man. But that's the way we want it, So
how many kids are now playing soccer?
You mean in the program?
Yeah, at the high school level.
So boys, we're looking at, we typically have 70 plus coming out for the 3 teams. 75, 77 is usually what we for freshmen, JV, and varsity. And I do think, I think the middle school team has helped us because we try not to make cuts at the middle school level and the freshman level. We try to, hold our kids as long as we can, and we want them to have that experience of being in the program and competing. But it gets, right? It gets harder. The higher you go in a program, the more competitive it is. And for the girls' side, we're every other, like, it's almost like every other year we host a freshman team, and we're trying to get to a point where we can consistently have that freshman girls team, and just keep the numbers up where lots of kids are participating and playing, and we're as competitive as we can be.
Well, it's funny because I remember the inherited daughters that played, and they told me point blank, for them to make the team, they had to be the best in all of New England for 5 years.
Wow.
Because they had 16 kids playing.
Yeah. Yep.
On the football team. So they got 16 girls playing on the U.S. national team coming from the country.
That's just, think about how competitive that is, right?
Well, I was amazed when Kerry would come home and talk about how every day they got a report. When she was down at UNC, telling her that, okay, yesterday you were 8th ranked in our group in the team for headers. Today you're 9th. And she said she'd get all sorts of grief if she slid that one spot on any of the drills. So, it showed you how much work and dedication had to go in.
No, 100%. And, and what's interesting about that is the data-driven technique, right? I'm old, and when I played, it was just the coach pretty much saying, well, hey, you know what? You can be the center midfield. You're fast, and you can run all day, and you've got one good foot, and your other foot, well, do some work on that, But now, with the video techniques and technology that they have and the data-driven methods, it's fascinating that they break it down to a skill, right? Yes. One skill. They can say you could be 2nd in corner kicks, or, and like you said, 8th in heading the ball. And, it's, I bet there's some algorithm that they put together that determines.
Well, when you look and you say Anson for a period of time won 16 out of 18 championships.
Yeah.
What he was doing wasn't too bad.
No. Some guys just get it. They figure out a method that works, and they just recruit, and they reload. Really, that's what we're looking to do. We don't rebuild. We try to reload.
Yeah, I remember when I did well or poorly, it was, as a goalie, nobody had to tell you. You could look at the
score. You knew. Right.
All you had to do was look up at the score, and you knew right away whether or not you were doing good.
Yeah, you either stopped it or you didn't. There's not a lot of data there.
So how are the girls doing?
Yeah, girls did well. I'll say this again. I always say this whenever I get a chance to talk to the public. We are in the NFL of high school leagues. It's any given afternoon, just like, obviously the NFL football. Our 10th and 11th team in this league could jump into many other leagues and be top 3 in any league, in most leagues, right? Not all. There's a lot of great leagues out there, but it's razor thin when it comes to winning records and whatnot. So, we did have a couple injuries here and there. We dropped a couple games that we probably hoped we had won because of those injuries and whatnot. But I'll say this, and truthfully, we kind of got penalized because one team didn't play us because of COVID. So they opted out of the 2 games. So we missed out on 2 games that we felt very strongly we would have won. So that hurt our record to get into the competitive side of the playoffs. So we get into the consolation side of the playoffs, and we ran the table. So we were able to win that out, and we felt good about that. But yeah, we've got some good gals. We had two All-Stars right on the girls' side, Catherine Madden and Danny Atherton. Danny Atherton was all Massachusetts. She was Eastern Mass and all Mass sophomore. Wow. Yeah, so the future's bright for those gals too. They're looking, with Lou Colabello at the helm, they're looking to create a similar environment. We compete, we compete. And I think they're there with that competitive attitude. It's just it's assimilating and acclimating to this Kelly Rex division because, truth be told, and if they had been in the other division, it probably would have been a little different. But you know what? Here's the thing. I tell them no excuses, so I'm not going to make any excuses. We are where we are. I felt like they competed well, and the future's bright for them for next year for sure.
Yeah, but there's got to be something to say that the coaches, the colleges, when they look and see where you're playing.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yep.
It's not like, okay, you're playing for the snowflake division of someplace.
Nope.
Versus the Hawk League. I mean, all of a sudden you sit there and say, if you can hold your own there, that's impressive. If you can win there.
Yes. And you bring up a really good point. You just hit the nail with a sledgehammer. I've had no less than 6 or 7 college athletic directors in New England say to me off the record, and, I'm not mentioning names, so it is what it is. But they've basically said, if a kid played in the Hakamak League, right, and they show interest in playing at our college, we pull their transcripts and we look at it twice. Most kids get 1 look. But if a kid is soccer, track, football, swim, lacrosse, mention it. If all they had to do was play in the Hakamak, they don't even look at the record of your team. They know that this league is so iron and so competitive. They're like, we want to make sure that we give it a second look with our committee, and we want to make sure the coaches see it too. Because if a kid has indicated they want to play here and they played in the Hakamak League, then you better believe that we're going to give them every opportunity to see if they're a good fit here.
And then you tie with it good academic.
Oof. Yeah. Yep.
Because one of the things that I heard in a couple different places is that like a place like Holy Cross is automatically at a disadvantage because Annie Bow doesn't cut breaks.
No.
You got to make the cut academically if she's going to accept you as Dean of Admissions.
Correct. Yep. And that is challenging. You have to make sure that you have the GPA, to get into some of the higher level colleges. There's no question. The one thing that I think athletics can do for you is if it's close and you're somebody that you can convince them in an interview that, hey, I listen, I have this, academic acumen, but I also have this athletic skill set, and you've met with the coach and they've seen your. And so, let's be honest, I'm just being truthful that sometimes a door that's just sort of cracked open gets swung open if you have that other skill set. And, I've always told my kids, the world's not fair. That's okay. It's okay. We know it is what it is. So,
you think about it, my hat is off to the athletes that I deal with, because when I was at Holy Cross, I had to bust my tailbone to stay on the high end of the academic scale.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And that's all I did. Now you turn around and say soccer, football, hockey, whatever, and they've got a full-time job of 40 hours a week of training.
Yes. Yep.
Now, if I'm looking at people and I see somebody who can multitask, is pulling good grades out of high school and a star athlete, I mean, whether or not I care about the athletic part of them, the character, the skill set that they can multitask is going to open my eyes.
No, that's a good point. That's life skills, and that's focus, that's discipline, that's organization. If you can have an after school practice for 2.5 hours, right? 2:30 to 5 is usually you're warming up, you're getting changed, 5 o'clock, right? And then you've got to go home and get dinner, and then you got to hit the books again. It doesn't leave a lot of downtime. So I've always been impressed with that, and that's you and I have always been on the same page since we met, that it's a student athlete. We don't talk about our athletes, we talk about our student athletes, because I always tell our kids, you're 1A, your day job is to get good grades, and your afternoon job can't interfere with your day job, right? That's important. And the other piece of the puzzle, really comes down to, is that you've got to find a way to make that work, and that's a life skill, right? You've got your day job, and then you've got your what I call their afternoon job. And the one thing I always mention to every single potential collegiate athlete from Milford is, you're one injury away from being just a student.
Right.
You've got to have a backup. You've got to have that college degree. If you're going to college, get the darn degree, and use it as a springboard to get where you want to go. Because not a lot of people play for professional anything, sports.
That's something that I admire in certain schools, because I've seen the kids, that end up being inherited sons of mine, graduate from playing basketball. And now they're making $90,000 two years out of school. I didn't make $90,000 2 years.
Yeah, I was going to say I would take that. I think it's a big deal.
They're constantly getting offers.
Yeah,
that to me says you did well, because 0.1% of the kids will play. Was it 24 to 30 new players a year enter the NBA?
Yeah.
You figure, what are the odds that you're going to be the top 24 of the country or the world?
And a lot of people don't make the team, so it's not great odds mathematically, right? It's not great odds. It's 1 in a million, literally, and they will make it to the pro level. So everybody else needs to be able to rely on, that academic skill set. Or, we have kids that go into the military too and go into the workforce and whatnot. But if you can get into college and get that degree, why not do it? Right? Why not go get that and have that extra skill set?
Now, soccer we've heard about. Let's take a step back, because when I remember high school, I remember the fall, the winter, and the spring.
Yes, correct. 3
athletic seasons. But didn't they break that up in the COVID era?
Yes. So I was very fortunate, and I'm going to be truthful. I don't know exactly how it occurred, but I was chosen to be on the state task force with some folks from the governor's office, and the chancellor of education joins us. And there's doctors and superintendents and whatnot. There's 4 or 5 athletic directors basically. So I have had a bird's eye view. And our job as a task force is just to advise, to just give counsel, to just offer recommendations. We've been meeting since March. Yeah, you bring up a really good point. So what occurred was, there was in this COVID year, we have 4 seasons. Okay, so we have the fall, which just concluded. We have the winter now, which is going to go till February, and then February, March, April, late February to April is we've been referred to as the wedge season, but that's fall too. And any sports that didn't fly in fall or winter have been dropped into the wedge season or the fall 2 season. So football, we're looking to go with football there. We're looking to go with girls volleyball. We're looking to go with competitive cheer. We're looking for unified basketball. So we're hoping it works.
What happened in the fall season? What sports?
What sports did play?
Yeah.
So field hockey played, golf played, boys and girls soccer played, and boys and girls cross country competed. Everything else was moved due to the what they would put in a high risk basically category. There's high risk, moderate risk, and low risk. And the high risk sports were moved. Football, cheer, and believe it or not, unified basketball, which is played in the fall, was also, because of the nature of contact, throughout the game, you're bumping and pushing and jamming into people. That was also moved to the fall 2 season.
But then how does soccer get away with it?
That's a really good question also. So what I have said to people is, here's the biggest question I've received, and it's very similar to yours. How can basketball play when soccer, right? Basketball, you're touching the ball every possession, right? Soccer, they actually modified it so much that there were no headers. There were no throw-ins. Every restart was a kick that could not go above like shoulder level. Okay, so it had to be a low kick. Your corner kicks were so different.
Well, how do you get a corner kick through?
You didn't. Yeah, you didn't. It was the kids adapted, the coaches adapted, they were phenomenal. But what I basically say to people is, look, that was the first season out of the gate in the COVID scenario. There's been an evolution of information. I keep using that term, evolution of information. If we were to go back and play soccer now, I think it would be different, right? I think it would be different. It was outdoors. I think, it went wonderfully. Believe me, we're happy that all those sports got to play. But I think there would be a little release on some of the modifications. And right now, with indoors, there's an uptick in numbers everywhere across the country, not just Milford. You pick any town you want, and the numbers are ticking up because it's indoors. People are closer. The ventilation is different. The kids are masked up for the entire practice, pre-practice, post-practice. So are the coaches. So am I. We're trying to make the best decisions we can as far as that goes. But, my one hope and my one platform has been, I don't want to see any sport get canceled. If it has to be moved, move it. But in the end, and it does stink because a couple of our sports are now over, like wrestling has been moved to the spring, right? They moved it as far as they can out of the winter because, and I joke about this, but I don't mean it in a funny situation. Unless the guys and gals, because gals wrestle too, unless the wrestlers are wearing scuba diving suits and got gloves on, you're not really going to be able to do, compete. And I get it, whether people agree or disagree. The experts say it's too dangerous right now. How do you
socially distance when you're wrestling?
Yeah, it's really difficult, right? When you're trying to pin the other person and trying to get your points and takedowns and it's impossible. So we knew all along the suspected situation was that wrestling, basketball, and football, and lacrosse was thrown in there too, would be really difficult. But some of the suspected modifications are loosening up. Like ice hockey is going in the winter, right? It's playing. And one of the reasons that we talked about was that, they've got long sleeve shirts on, they've got gloves on, they have the face shields, right? The plastic shields, they've got the masks. You look like an Eskimo, but that's okay. Cause you know what? I've jokingly said, look, if you got to put on like a pink leotard and a purple tutu, whatever it takes to play,
right?
These kids are willing to do, and they've done it so darn well. But so, sports have been booted to other seasons, and there's going to be some overlap, and it's difficult. And this might not make people feel any better, but at least you got a choice,
For the fall, golf makes sense.
Yes.
If there was ever a sport where I could stay 6 feet away from everybody.
Yes.
The golf.
No one's touching your equipment, right? No one's touching your golf ball. No one's touching your golf clubs. No one's touching your golf bag. Nobody touches anything. I will say this throughout the summer. On the task force, I was loud and proud saying that golf and cross country should go no matter what. Please don't tell me that these two sports can't go, because they can. You can run. I ran cross country in high school and college. I coached it forever. You can run it in waves, which we did, right? 12 kids go off in the first wave. 12 kids go 3 minutes later. They're not going to overlap. They're going to string out, and we're going to be able to keep track of it. So, it's all about the kids participating. That's really all I was looking for. To be truthful, we didn't really care about our record this year. Nobody really did. Everybody in the Hakamak League, you talk to the other ADs, they're like, we don't.
Except the kids.
Yeah, they do. They do. Of course they do, right? Yeah. And I listen, if I was playing, If I was in high school or college again, of course I would worry about the record. But from my perspective as the administrator of the athletic department, I just wanted the kids being active.
No, for you, I can see it, but I get a kick out of some of these, people who say, well, you don't have to keep score. The kids won't even know.
No, I don't.
Said, these kids are busting their tail every day.
Yeah.
To get ready for a game. And you don't think they're going to know?
100%. Like, I've never subscribed to that, even when I was like 7. Now, if we're playing, you better have the score. I don't care about the time. I'll play all day. 90 minutes, 200 minutes. But you better keep track of the score, because if we're working to score and not be scored upon, then you better keep track. And
so how did our golfers do?
Yeah, the golfers did well. We were, you know what? They were a very interesting group. We had a bunch of freshmen. We had our typical, veteran players. They did very well. They competed. There were no non-league games or matches or meets for anybody, which is challenging for us, because our teams that might struggle a little bit in the league, we win out when we play non-league games. We do really well. So, they had their league schedule, but the key
logic there. I mean, I would think golf, if anything, is the safe bet.
I think, and that's another good question. I think the MIA wanted to be consistent. They gave you a choice: stick with a league schedule or a geographical pod. And we decided, because we had 12 teams, we were going to stick with our league schedule. So we did that. And then our playoff would be a crossover, where you would play the Davenport, you'd play the small division in the first round, and try to make it, competitive at that point. So, the 4s would play the 4s, and, it's not like the 1 matched up against the 12 and it was a blowout. We wanted it to be competitive. So that's a good question. So we chose not to go with non-leagues and a geographical pod. We went with the league. And I got to tell you, by the end of the season, our golfers were rocking with the best people, and they played very well. We actually had a league championship over at the Franklin Country Club. And what we did is our 3 guys played in a group with each other, where they would normally match up with other golfers. They've practiced near each other, right, all year long. So there was no extra hazard or extra challenge or of any type of corona situation by putting them with other kids. So they just walked the course with each other, and it was a fantastic. Went over and got to visit and take some pictures, and they competed. They did a nice job this year, and then that future is bright too, because they're young.
I can see from a health point of view that makes sense. Having your 3 top golfers from the same school compete against each other. Oh, I can see a rivalry there.
Yeah. There's no. You're wearing the same uniform, but let me tell you, everybody's watching strokes. It's,
this season the team is great, but if I grew up with Joe and we're 1 or 2, on our handicap, I don't know that I'm going to give any. How do I say? I'm not going to hold back at all.
Nope, and nor should you. Not at the final championship of the season. Absolutely not. We just say we're throwing down today. We're just going. Is what it is.
And I mean, it's all healthy.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's what, this is what our superintendent Kevin McIntyre has said since March, and I've really subscribed to it, and I admire the perspective. His mantra has been, let's offer everything that we can as normal as possible. So if we can practice 5 days a week, 6 days a week, sometimes, which is normal for us. And if we can compete and we can play golf and we can have field hockey games and we can run cross country and we can do it in as safe as possible a manner, and we're not jeopardizing, then let's do it. And that's what he has said. And that's what the principals in the district have subscribed to. That's what the directors have subscribed to. And I got to tell you, the coaches and the kids, they answered the bell. They answered the bell, man. They showed up. They got it done. There was so many challenges, the modifications, and for our families, I want to thank them, our fans. That they couldn't travel to away games. That was one of the rules in the league. Some leagues said no fans, right? No. Can you imagine telling a senior parent you can't go to one game? That's hard to do. So we said, listen, you're from Milford, you can come to home games, but they're not going to let you commingle at an away game. And we understood that. So we respected it, and our fans made it work, and the rest of the league fans made it work.
I remember we were a game in Framingham, and the referee came over and threatened to give me a yellow card. And I said, what did I do? He said, it's not you. Your parents are cheering.
Oh, so they're going to ring you up. Yeah. Yep.
Did any of them say something if they said something bad? These were my daughters. I had 16 girls that I considered mine.
Yeah.
If one of them badmouthed them, he goes, oh, no, they're very positive. And I said, well, sir, I'm confused. And he said, well, we play library soccer. I said, what is that? He says, you're not allowed to cheer.
What?
And I said, oh, I'll tell you what. I will be happy to go tell all the fathers to shut up. And I apologize if this sounds sexist, but you see those mothers there? Yeah. If you think I'm going to go over to them and say they can't cheer positively, in a positive manner for their daughters, I'll be dismembered.
Yeah, so, that's not a good move.
I can't recommend it. God bless you that you kept the parents from going, because I can't imagine that, you go all these years, come senior year, you see your daughter or your son now going to compete. Put me in a dang bubble, but let me watch.
Yeah, no, it was challenging, and they answered the call. One of the things we did as a league, and I got to give Milford TV props because they initiated this. They contacted the 11 other schools in the league and said, hey, can we live stream? Like, how about when we go to Attleboro live streams, and when we play in Milford, Attleboro parents, along with the Milford parents, can get on the live stream. So, Liz and Tim and everybody at Milford TV, they were phenomenal. And they started this Hakamak live stream group. And it was fantastic because, you could I would have parents texting me going, sending pictures. There's 3 or 4 people on a couch and they've got popcorn and they're watching their high school kids play soccer and play field hockey. And, it's just Milford being Milford, man, stepping up. And it's, all I can say is this: God help you trying to tell Milford parents to be quiet, because that's not how this town rolls, man. They're positive and they're not fresh. They don't swear, but you know what? We use the term loud and proud. You can be loud and proud.
If one of my parents had said something inappropriate, I would be happy to go over and say, hey guys.
Right. You'd be the first. And me too. I'm the first one, but you know what? It doesn't really happen.
No, the loudest one screaming was my darling bride.
Yeah, right.
So I want to go tell her she can't cheer on her daughter.
Yeah, not a good. I wouldn't recommend that unless you got a good marriage counselor.
Now, did our runners run away from everybody this year?
Oh man, what a great season they had. So, so the boys competed well. They graduated a lot. James Comiskey, all-star, made Hakamak League all-star as a junior. Had an epic race at home versus King Philip. There's this. I mean, the picture went viral. So they finished at the track, right? And the boys soccer team was practicing, and just organically, it's James and this kid from King Philip. And okay, so I'm a runner and I know 5K, 3.1, the gun goes off. And these two guys were at war for 3.1 miles. I mean, step by step, neck and neck. Somebody takes the lead. The other guy, takes the shoulder and drafts, and they just went back. So they come into the stadium. And I was right there. The soccer guys start cheering, and then they stop practicing, and they run to the other side of the field where the finish line is. And you can see the picture on Twitter. It's like I'm 50 years old, right? Been a head coached at really high levels, state champions, right? New England champions. I've never seen anything like this. It was amazing. And they're cheering and cheering and screaming. And then this picture of James out-leaning this kid. And there's 12 or 13, 15 soccer boys in the background cheering. Their arms are up, yelling, mouths open. And it just, if that didn't encapsulate how happy these kids were to compete, I don't know what does. But I got a picture of that in my office. It's awesome. So, the boys competed hard. New coach, Coach Dan Gordon did a great job. The girls, I should share with you, had the Hakamak League MVP in Emma Lawrence. So she went undefeated, 2 years undefeated. Just started running cross country junior year. She's just, I'll tell you what, again, I've coached cross country at the highest level. She is ferocious. She's the nicest kid you'd ever want to meet. You would never know how competitive she is, if she's in plain clothes and walking around the school. But when she suits up, get out of the way, because it's not going to go well. You don't want to be in that line of fire. But but she's a great kid, great track runner, great basketball player. She's one of those kids that if she's playing, I'm not here to lose. So wins the MVP award in the league. She's working on where she's going to college, and she's definitely going to run, at the next level. That team did very well up until the last week. They were competing, for the Hakamak Championship with just a loaded team, and Coach Glenn O'Connor's just done a phenomenal job. He's been the coach for just a couple of years, but he's changed the culture. He's made it important, and he's made it, it's powerful to be competing. That's what we do. So it's been awesome.
So you come in as a new coach to a cross-country team. What do you do to make a difference?
I can tell you from experience, because when I took over in 1993, my first team, the boys were 0-8 and the girls were 1-7 the year before. And no joke, the one was a forfeit. The other team didn't show up. Their bus broke down. Honest to God. So I got a team, so what I think it is? It's all about mental toughness. You talk about it on a daily basis. We got to, and I share this in every, fall, winter, and spring. I always talk about, what's your footprint? How do you want to be remembered? Can you work a little bit harder? Can you give 1% more? Can you give 2%? Most people can give 3% more in anything they're doing at any given moment, right? So you talk about hard work. You talk about Milford legend, right? Milford lore and the mythology of this town. And, Milford isn't mediocre. And that's another thing I say, like, it's easy to be mediocre in the 21st century, right? Mediocrity's everywhere. We say Milford's not mediocre. We have to honor, the past and all those great individuals and teams that have carved out this legend that when you roll into a town and you're wearing red and white and it says Milford, people expect you to come and punch them in the teeth. And I mean that, not physically with your fists, but if you're playing soccer, they're looking for a damn good game. If you're running, they expect you to rock. If you're playing football, they're expecting the highest level of football. So that's kind of what we do and what we talk about. And I think the kids get excited when the coaches are excited and locked in. And I think that's the way that some of these coaches have changed the culture, is relying on the past, but also saying we got to pave a path for the future too, because we can't let people down.
Pete, it always amazed me to think about cross country. When I played hockey, you had to do the best you could for 90 seconds.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And then I get a break.
You get a break. Right. Yep.
Even on the soccer field, I got to kind of lay back in goal for a few minutes and catch my breath after going crazy.
100%. Yep.
In football, what's an average play? 6 seconds, 10 seconds? 6, 7
seconds. A long play is 10 or 12 seconds, right?
And then you look at cross country and you say, okay, run and stop when you've finished 5 miles or whatever.
Yeah, 3.1 miles in high school, 5 miles in college. I mean, yeah, it's I got to tell you. So having run cross country, high school, and college.
It's not like they can get say, I need a breather. I'm going to hold on for a few seconds.
You don't get a timeout. There's no timeout on the course, right? And we say that, and that comes down to personal pride and team pride. Like I always used to say to my runners, and I knew it too. You can take a break if you want to. I won't know. If you're out in the woods, I won't know. But guess what? The clock will know. And your competitors, you'll know. And the competitors, and deep down, I will know as your coach, because I know what you're made of and I know what you can do on this course. So I think there's just this mental toughness and this pride factor that goes into running 3.1 miles. I wrestled in high school. I played soccer. I mean, wrestling and cross country are pretty bleeping hard. All the sports are hard. When you're playing at a high level, they're all challenging. But there's something to be said for kids that can go out and race 3.1 miles and not, you don't even take a second.
And I see this group, this gaggle of kids.
Yeah. Yep.
It's raining. It doesn't seem to bother them. They just, and you can see the one or two that are leading and the rest, this big bulbous crowd
of them, right?
Yeah, it amazes me to see the dedication.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and it's fun to watch, and it gives you pride. I mean, Saturday mornings, basically for distance runners, it's Saturday is considered your long day, and most of our teams run for a minimum 60 minutes, And some of our kids that are high gear will run for 90, no break, 90 minutes. Most people don't want to drive. I don't like driving for 90 minutes. But I remember Sundays in college, it was like you got to get 15 miles in 90 minutes or the coach is mad at you.
Miles?
Yeah. 6-minute miles on a Sunday. Yeah. And that was your training day, right? That was, you try to run 5-minute miles in college if you're a guy, 25 minutes for, an 8K. But yeah, you hit the nail on that. It's, all of our kids compete and press hard.
Toughness.
Yeah. It's just, it's something we talk about all the time. We say, one of the things I've said since I arrived, and it's not anything I created. It's always been Milford. What I've done is I've just taken a catchy phrase to it. We say practice hard to win easy, right? You don't win games on game day. You win games in practice, days, weeks, months, years in advance. So, practice hard to win easy. We've got our shirts that say that.
So now the program you put in the middle school, is that how, it's great for the kids.
Yes.
Is it also helping the high school coaches?
I think so. Yeah, that's a good observation. Yes, it's multi-layered. We got kids, and I get it. I believe there were budget cuts in the past, and all middle schools were cut at one point in certain decades because of that. But Milford has never really worried about that. So, one of the things we thought about when I came on board was we were looking at numbers and participation and whatnot. And as a group, we said, hey, let's add a couple middle school teams and see how it goes. So we added soccer, we added cross country, we added track. The numbers were phenomenal, like to the point where the bus company would check in and say, are you sure you need 3 buses to go to a middle school track and field meet? I'm like, yeah, we might need 4. I'll let you know. And those are the numbers that we have. And I've always said, Milford, all you got to do is convince people that it's important for kids, and they'll find the money or they'll get the people power, right? They'll build it, So, but yeah, no, it has been really fantastic for, I think, the pride of Stacy, like the fact that kids can just walk out the door and go watch their soccer team play twice a week is awesome. They can come up to the high school and watch them, the middle school cross country courses at the high school, because there's no land at Stacy. So we built one at the high school. But yeah, it's helped us in a lot of facets where the kids are playing, they're competing, they're participating. We try not to cut anybody, especially at the middle school level. We've got girls volleyball, we've got boys volleyball. We're adding a dance team. We've got a girls, not even girls. It's co-ed dance. There's a competitive nature to that now. So that got booted out of the fall for Stacy, but that's either going to be in the fall too or the spring. Yeah, we're just trying to build and give kids opportunities to be active and be focused. But it has helped our middle school, and it definitely has helped our high school numbers as well, because kids are matriculating at a higher rate. They're coming up to the high school not only for academics now, but they're coming up to follow their sport to the high school, which we love. Listen, we want our Milford kids to stay in Milford if it's right for them to do that. It's great. We love it.
The thing I like about the idea is you're teaching them that they need to allocate their time.
Yes.
They need to dedicate that part of it's not like, okay, it's 2:30, time to go home and watch TV.
Yeah, because, as a former head coach, every season, undoubtedly, you'd get a phone call from a parent. Hey, my son's not going to compete this season because he's got to get his grades up. And I would say, oh, okay, thanks for calling. So he's going to do homework from 2:30 to 9.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? Well, you said you got to get your grades up. Well, so he's going to be doing homework from 2:30 p.m. till about 9 p.m., right? Does that make sense? Going to have to take a break for dinner. And there'd be a pause normally. I'd say, listen, there's college data out there. They've done surveys, and the surveys show that kids that are involved in anything, music, sports, clubs, those kids do better academically. And it's for the exact reason that you just mentioned. Their time is organized. They're not going to go home and just watch TV from, 2:30 to 7 or jump on the Xbox. Nothing against that, but segment your time. You want to play Xbox for 90 minutes? That's great. Get your homework done first. That's what we do at my house. You earn that time.
But that's the whole attitude. If you teach a kid to be disciplined, what you're saying, you earn a spot. Yes. I want to be a starter. I don't just get given a starter.
Nope.
Can't draw it in the lottery, can't buy it. I got to earn it.
No.
Well, that's a discipline that you've got to put the extra time in. And then that'll carry over to academics too.
Yes, 100%. And then for us, and we do mention this in our fall, winter, and spring meetings with all of our families and all of our student athletes. It's like, that's a great life skill. I always tell my own two at home, and I tell all the Milford kids, like, nobody's going to hand you anything. Your first job is so critical, and you're not going to get that job if you don't have a good work record as academically from a college or from some other body of information. Someone's got to be able to stand up and say, this kid works hard. And you're going to get that in an athletic situation. You're going to get that in a musical situation. You're going to get that from an academic. Your report card says that, right? If you've got good grades, it says that you're willing to work hard to earn what you want to earn. So
now we got season 2.
Yes. Yep.
What's coming up for season 2?
Yeah, I think people will be surprised to hear everything that we're offering right now. So boys and girls basketball is launched, right? Boys scrimmage have a closed scrimmage on Wednesday. Girls scrimmage is the Monday after. Boys and girls swimming has launched. We also have boys co-op ice hockey with Hopedale and Millis. We have girls ice hockey right now with Shrewsbury. We have a co-op with Shrewsbury. We got a couple of gals playing, and these gals are really good, so it's fun. It's fun to watch. We actually we have 2 more co-ops that have quietly been added over the past couple of years. We have Alpine Ski, which I give those kids all the credit in the world because our principal, Josh Otland, is a real high-level skier, right? I ski.
How do you pull that off? I mean, it's not like you're going to Wawachusett. How do they get time?
It's funny you say that. That's where they practice, right? They part of the deal is you have to buy your own winter pass. But for me, like, listen, I love to compete and I love to run fast, and I'm not nearly as fast as I used to be, but going down a mountain, right, as fast as you can and running through these gates and I give them all the credit
for that.
It's treacherous, but they do it. And I give them all the credit in the world. And so we got a couple boys doing that, and we have a couple girls that might be joining the girls team. So yeah, it's like track. The fastest guy, the fastest gal wins, and there's 2nd, 3rd, 4th place. But it's cool. It's cool. It's just a neat sport, and so we're excited. That's been approved in the COVID era, and we just added a gymnastics co-op. We have 2 gals over there with Medway, and Holliston might be joining just to get the numbers up and keep things moving forward. But one of the things we're trying to do is if we don't have enough kids to be independent, then we're out there beating the streets to try and find a co-op where our kids can just participate, just be active, And I thank the other towns for being willing to collaborate with us. They're thankful for us because our kids are good.
It's like gymnastics. It's a team sport,
yes,
but it really is individual performance.
Yes. Yeah.
So you could have 6 kids from 3 different towns, and still the kids can get everything that they would if you had 10 kids from Milford.
Absolutely. You're right. It's, and that's what's great about swimming and track and cross country and gymnastics. You can go out and you are competing for you, and you want to get a great score or a great time, but your time or your score is then allotted to your team, right? It counts towards your team. So you might win, you might win the balance beam, but your team, might not do great as a team that day, but you can contribute. Or hey, you might only get 2nd or 3rd on the pommel horse, but it's enough to push your team forward, and your team can win the meet that day. So I love that aspect where it's individual. Wrestling's like that too, right? You go out and you got to get a certain amount of points, and you win by a certain amount of points. And but those sports are just fantastic because there's an individual nature too.
Do we have a bit of an advantage having that nice pool in Milford?
1000%. Absolutely. So important. That's a great, benefactor to having that, not only did every kid in town learn how to swim, which my dad was in the Navy. I think everybody needs to learn how to swim. That's my own personal perspective as a former wellness teacher, right? It's so important to learn how to swim. It's just a necessary life skill. So all the kids in Milford are learning how to swim and whatnot, but our kids are swimming year round. They get in there, they swim with the Stingrays, they swim for the team, and it's amazing. We host the league championship, right? Because you can fit 400 or 500 spectators up there in the upper deck, right? And our coaches, oh my gosh, our coaches are phenomenal. The 3 coaches we have are just like on another level. So we're very, very fortunate.
I remember when my oldest was swimming, and we would go to different swim clubs. Some of them were miserable for spectators.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You had no room.
Challenging.
You just had no room, and
nope.
Whereas now we've gone to the Special Olympic swim meets and all, and they got 100-some people, 200 people up in the stands, comfortable. Well, as comfortable as you can be, but
no, comfortable is a good word, because you are. And for us, it's fantastic because we have the capacity to host a 12-team championship, and nobody's complaining because everybody gets a seat. Now, my oldest son, did swim for the Stingrays and does, dabble in swimming too. We've gone to away meets where, somebody will say, hey, the 200 meters up, and people would shuffle out, and you would have to push in to watch your race, and then you got to get out because there's not enough spectating capacity.
You couldn't stay. You couldn't.
No, you didn't get to watch the whole meet. It was crazy. But so Milford, the pioneers, definitely had it right when they built the Milford pool. Unbelievable. We have people all the time checking in with Lenny, and he does a tremendous job making the schedule work.
Well, it's not just making the schedule work. When they needed new diving boards, when they needed, upgrades, Lenny somehow always has a few shekels.
Listen,
in the way
I call him Dr. Lenny because he always finds a way to make things better. He always finds a way to fix the boo-boo or the challenge or whatever it is. So Dr. Lenny has my respect from here until eternity.
Well, Dr. Lenny's always taking care of our kids, and you can't ask for better than that.
Nope, that's always his objective, and I've always admired that about him.
Well, thank you for bringing us up to speed. Look forward to having you back to hear about season 2. I'm just really, really happy to see how well the kids have done. Especially in sports that we had to go to Franklin to find a team to play when I was a young kid.
Now we can.
I was very good, but I still wanted to play, and I couldn't play in Milford. Now all of a sudden you've got All-Americans. Amazing.
Evolution, right? It's great. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and we're going to keep doing everything possible. We got to turn stones over. If we got to move boulders, if we got to shovel snow, if we got to run to Franklin for a track and field meet, we'll do it.
Well, we'll see you. And to our 6 loyal viewers, feel the ounce of pride that a lot of us do when all of a sudden you find out that a Milford kid has been named All-American or All-New England. When you find out that these kids are not only super athletes, but are getting into the top schools that they want on top of it. Just fantastic. Thank you. And as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless, and may tomorrow be a better night than tonight. Good night, all.
Take care, everybody.
Not too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just searching for my soul.